We are back. It is the sound of John Harrison laughing, which means it can only be the StatrCast, the podcast from the lads at Statter, fantasy football, but done better with more numbers, better data, people in their real positions, and a shiny, shiny app, which we will be bringing to you at some stage. John is here. Dermot is here. I am here. I'm sorry, I've been away for a while. I've been doing something very unusual and watching football with my handsome younger brother there in a place that you wouldn't believe. John, it's good to be back. What's on the menu?
We've had a rotating cast the last couple of weeks because you've been off watching West Brom of all teams. But anyway, that's beside the point. Tonight, we had a lovely... This has happened to us way too frequently lately, where we've had a running order and then during the day, something massive happens. So obviously we have to talk about the story of the day, which is Thomas Frank has bitten the bullet. Spurs are looking for another manager. Turns out Ange Postecoglou might have been correct. There's a bit of that going on. So we're going to get into that whole topic and where that club goes next. We're going to talk about the relegation fight because things got compressed and very, very interesting down there. 2 teams cut adrift. There's 1 spot left up for grabs, and there's probably 5 teams in the gap for that. And then I want to talk about some of the league's form players. So players that got transferred in during January or players that you want to keep an eye out for over the next couple of weeks in fantasy based on their recent form. And there's one in there that kind of sickens me a little bit, but I will be proven correct in the long term because I've been right so far. But that's beside the point. Anyway, Thomas Frank has got sacked. Let's talk Spurs. Where do we want to start?
I watched them last night. I watched them against Newcastle. No, as you pointed out, John, as we've discussed on this show many, many times before, this year there's been 2 really, really solid patterns with home and away fixtures. One of them is that, apart from Brentford being amazing at home and Sunderland being amazing at home, Spurs are absolute monkey gash at home, and Newcastle are incredibly bad when they're away. So it was kind of a clash of the shitans to see who would be more shite. I have seen some bad defending in my time. But Spurs last night, apart from the split second where they scored, Spurs were in what can only be described as a shambolic level of disarray. It was absolutely disgraceful at the back. Like filling up the box and still not marking anyone effectively whatsoever. The amount of shots they gave away was ridiculous. Jed Spence stood out to me, and I hate to single out a player for bad performance, but Jed Spence stood out to me as a man who looked like he shouldn't be playing Premier League football. Up that right wing was just where Newcastle were putting everything. And when you consider that for a good chunk of that match, Newcastle's most dangerous man up the right wing was Dan fucking Byrne, who, for all his good points, is not exactly an electric, pacey winger like Mo Salah. And Spence still couldn't contain him or anyone else. It was absolutely it could have been 3-1. It could have been 4-1. I wouldn't have batted an eyelid. Why is this team that is expensive and experienced so bad at the back?
So,
because it's Spurs.
Last night in particular, I mean, Romero's a huge loss for Spurs, right? He was very silly. It was a very silly sending off the other week or the other game week, whatever we're calling it.
Naturally, that's what he does.
It's funny you should touch on Jed Spence because Jed Spence, along with one of his teammates, kind of sums up this whole Thomas Frank era for Spurs and me, which was a couple of months back at this point now, where they ignored him at the end of the game. He said, "Come on, let's go and clap the fans. They're the ones watching this shit, putting up with it every week." And Spence and one of the other lads just tore off down the tunnel. So, I mean, in terms of the defense in particular, yeah, last night was awful. Really, really poor. I don't love Jed Spence at left back. I love Archie Gray with all my heart as a Leeds fan, as all Leeds fans do. But again, that boy is better in midfield than he is at right back. And I know it's not quite right back, but still, when you look at their defenders and you look at the support they have in front of them in midfield, it doesn't scream top 4, 6, 8, whatever people like to think of Spurs as.
I will say this, there seems to be, for me, there's a deeper problem at Spurs and has been for about a year now. Because it was the same last year under Ange Postecoglou. The amount of injuries, the amount of long-term injuries, the amount of players unavailable. Like there was points in time last season where Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall were playing at centre-back in the league before the Europa League final, and Ange was getting pelters for how many they were conceding for not changing their style. And he said, "What do you want me to do with what I have? I'm playing 2 centre midfielders at centre-back." And look at their injury list right now. Kudus is out, Danso is out, Dogi is out, Richarlison is out, Bentancur is out, Porro is out, Ben Davis is out, Kuleveski is out, Madison is out, Bergval is out, and Romero is suspended. Most of those names I listed, you would be saying are thereabouts in terms of the starting 11, let alone the squad.
Yeah, but like not long ago, well, a long time ago, but not long ago for me in podcast terms, we were talking about the kind of quasi-dynamic, very leadershipy, very get-stuck-ininess of Conor Gallagher in the middle of that pitch for Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't land last night either.
No, Conor Gallagher's been misprofiled in the Premier League.
How so?
Also, because he's much better in an advanced midfield role. He's full of energy. He will run all day. He has that kind of get up and go. Look, if you won't do it, I'll do it, and you'll follow me. You know, he has that about him. But he's not a ball-winning midfielder by trade. He is a bit of an all-action midfielder who plays his best football slightly advanced. You know, I watched him for years at Atletico, and he was fine. It's a very tricky club for people to bet into if you don't speak Spanish in general, or if you're not, you know, really, really world class. The demands are different, and it's a different style of football in Spain anyway in general. But people like to think Gallagher's going to be like Rice or, you know, Gerrard was. He's not that. Okay, and it's again, he's a presser, and he's very effective. He's very good. I'd love him as a secondary central midfielder, you know, put him alongside Moises Caicedo, ironically, or someone of that kind of mold, and I'd be like, that's perfect for Gallagher. But if you're relying on him to be your smash bang, I'll win the ball back, carry it upfield, lay it off, and someone will set someone else up to score, he's never been that. You know?
That's not his game. It's not his game, but like I'm saying, I was looking at the team that went out there last night. Archie Gray started at right back, Dragustan started at centre back, Jed Spence started at left back. Paulinho has only come back from injury during the week and was on the bench. Ives Basuma, Pape Sarr started, Odegaard started. Like, this is the second year in a row that this dressing room has had the exact same problem. And when you see a player in Romero coming out twice in the space of a month, having a pop, not at the manager, but at the club in general, and the board and how the club is ran and operated, says that there's something a lot deeper going on in the background, to me.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. So, again, being as I am unaccustomed to the ways of football, I have to ask the question, guys. Like, Thomas Frank is gone, right? And obviously there's a cultural issue there, and it just didn't come together from despite an amazing season at Brentford last year. My favourite manager in the world went on the market last night after a 5-0 hockeying by Paris against Marseille. Is it possible that my man De Zerbi is coming back?
Yes.
I don't know. If I were De Zerbi, I'd be in no rush to take the Spurs job in February. Now, it's a particularly good time to hire someone. They've got a few weeks off because they're out of the FA Cup, surprise, surprise. But they're rolling into a North London derby when they come back after that break, which I don't think anyone at this point, no matter who the manager is of that day, I don't think anyone thinks they're going to win that game or not lose that game. So if I'm De Zerbi, I'm not rushing to pick up the phone when Spurs call. I'm sure he'll pick it up at some point when they do call. But I think there are going to be a lot more attractive jobs available in the summer at elite clubs. I don't think Real Madrid are going to stick with Arbeloa. I don't know if Man United are going to stick with Carrick. I'm even hearing a lot about that Liverpool might not stick with Slot. Now, again, Slot goes, everyone's pretty much thinking Xabi Alonso will come in there. But in general, I don't know. I wouldn't want to touch this Spurs right now for all the reasons we've just talked about. And then also there are better options. Like De Zerbi is likely to be in high demand. He's had a rough time at Marseille, which I would argue is maybe in the top 3 or top 5 most difficult clubs in Europe to manage, just because of the demands of the fans and the impact that the fans have. Not necessarily the influence they have over club or anything like that, but the impact they have. It's absolute carnage in Marseille when it goes wrong. And those fans have no problem telling you it's going wrong, and they often do things that can be perceived as going way over the line. You know what I mean?
Sure. So I mean, like it occurs, and we were talking about this earlier, that of the supposed big six clubs, cough spit, it's likely that most of them will be shopping for new managers, or at least possible for all of them, realistically. And any of them could be looking for new managers this year, depending on whether Arsenal bottle it. Who is the solution for Spurs that's on the market right now?
To be honest with you, I don't think there is a solution. I think there's a rot that's in that club at the moment. You can see the disconnection with the fans in the club. Levy left in the end of summer. There's a power gap in terms of how the club is ran. I don't think it matters right now what manager goes in. There's a bigger problem in terms of the day-to-day operations of the club. Remember, their football director recently got a 4-year ban from football, Patricio. So they've sacked him and they've hired another one. So they have 2 operating directors of football at any given point in time. They're the only club in the Premier League that has 2 directors of football. AKA, we can't make a fucking decision between us. And just how the club is ran is just so bad that when the captain is coming out slamming the board, like, that's not your place to do. And there's not even a slap on the wrist about it. Says enough about the power vacuum that's in the club. He didn't get banned. He didn't get pulled out of the team. He didn't get the captaincy stripped from him. The manager literally came out and went, he's right, because he was. So I think De Zerbi actually does take this job because it means that there's fireworks on both sides for the next 18 months. He doesn't make it to the end of next season, but he gets the job because he's the type of football that those fans could get behind.
But do you think he could embed his football in the next 4 months?
No.
Do you think Spurs could get relegated if they don't get their shit together?
No.
Yeah.
Why?
I do.
No, and the reason why they won't, and we'll get onto the relegation thing next, but the reason why they won't is because in terms of the players that you have to see that will be coming back over time throughout the season, the players like Solanke, who's recently back, they have enough firepower to see them through, and also that the teams below them will be taking points off each other, like you've West Ham, Forest, Palace, Leeds. You've even maybe a Brighton potentially in that mixture. I think they're also fine. I think in terms of that, they'll be fine. Like, I've seen Xavi touted. I've seen Ruben Amorim touted. Neither of those are options. Marco Silva's a logical one, but with where the state of the club, he's on that list as well, Marco Silva. He's a logical one. Glasner's a logical one, but with how that club is right now in terms of septic, neither of those are hires that are sexy enough to appease a dressing room that's on fire and a fan base that hates the dressing room even more than they ever have.
Potter?
Graham Potter.
God, no.
Stability.
Some of these managers have not been successful in a while. Xavi hasn't been managing at the top level in a couple of years now. No one seems to be pushing for him, which kind of is a message in itself, I'd say the same about Potter. Potter has gone to Sweden, I believe. Another shit show over the last couple of years up at Sweden. But I wouldn't count Spurs out of a nasty little relegation scrap, because they need to bring someone in who can get instant results. And when clubs need someone who can get instant results, they tend to make bad decisions about who to bring in.
Well, the one I saw touted today, and I'm kind of here for it. And do you know what? I'd love to see it. A bit of Harry Redknapp back for 6 months.
I saw him being asked as well. Yeah. He was asked, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Yeah, but he's the type of manager that can come in, big hugs, tell everybody they're great, and they get going.
What's he going to do? Fucking sign Nico Cranshaw again?
He doesn't need to. He just needs to hug Dominic Solanke and goes, "I'll buy you a Spider-Man mask if you score next week."
Absolutely not. It's not 2003, lads. That is not the solution.
I'm not saying it's a good solution, but this is what clubs do when they're in trouble.
For anyone who's listening to us later instead of watching us live, I have not seen a more horrified look on Dermot's face at the words Harry Redknapp than I have in a very, very long time. I think that was just a journalist having a bit of fun asking him the question earlier on. I don't think anybody's really going to see that.
Would you be surprised?
The
other option is Ryan Mason.
Leeds hired Sam Allardyce 4 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever it was, to try and save the day with 3 or 4 games to go. That happened. It's bordering on disbelievable, and that stuff does happen. But no, I think even Spurs are smarter than that.
Even Spurs. And that's our weekly bit of love for the Arsenal fans, is even Spurs fans. Yeah.
But like the other touted is Pochettino, who's also going to probably be in the running for the Man United job, depending on how the state Like USA, whatever. I'm not going to get into the talk about
Robbie
it.
Keane.
USA are going to do very well at this World Cup, and we know why.
What World Cup?
The World Cup in the States in the summer. That
No, it's okay.
It's
okay. It's like the Super Bowl halftime show. I'm going to run an alternative one because I don't like those guys.
Why do you think we're all wearing our Latin shirts? Like, that's
Latin.
not joking. That just happy coinky dink. But no, look, Spurs is on fire. Thomas Frank, the run of form they've been on has been appalling. The fact that after they went a goal down last night, the fans started booing and started singing "sacked" in the morning. I think it got to the point where they had to sack him. I think he's a great manager. How they started the first 7-8 games of the season, I think everybody was like, "Oh shit, Spurs have finally got a manager who knows what they're doing."
Mm-hmm.
But
And then off the pitch stuff started coming up, which is
it's
like,
very hard to change. It's very hard to change style as a manager. You know, I think a lot of people seem to think that there's this natural progression of you either bring up a promoted club or you take over a lower table Premier League club and you do well with them. You kind of steady the ship and they become a team that stays in the Premier League. And then logically, the next step is you go to a big 4 or 6, whatever the hell people want to call it, club. And then all of a sudden, you're expected to dominate possession. You're expected to be the protagonist in the game, and it's all going to go fine. And I have no idea why people think that that's the way it's meant to go. You know, we're seeing more and more evidence that that's not how it works. And Frank, unfortunately, is the big loser here. And I would say the biggest winner here is Keith Andrews, because I didn't see anyone at the start of the year saying Brentford are going to be better than they were with Andrews. And myself included, I thought Brentford were going to finish 18th this year. I thought they were going to be in the scrap with Leeds and a couple others for that last spot to go down. Yeah. And they are so good this year.
Even after being filleted as a squad, out front in particular. And yeah, that's like, I remember it. That's where we were at the start of the season. We were making our predictions, which you can see at StatrCast.com. And Brentford did not feature anywhere near the top 10, 12.
No. And to be, if you told any Brentford fan at the start of the year they'd be level on points with Liverpool at this stage in the season, they go, "Oh shit, how bad of the season have Liverpool had?" That's how good they're going. Well, both cases are actually true at this point.
Two things can be true.
Also, the one name I just saw touted, and because I just looked it up, that actually seems like a fit, and ye probably won't like it. Robbie Keane.
Yeah, I just said Keane a few minutes ago, half cheek, but I mean, again, just incredibly unproven at any sort of elite level. He's managing out in Hungary.
He's managing a Champions League team. They've won a league. He's won a league in 2 separate countries. Essentially, if you were to say a manager that's gone away and learnt on the job about how to play good football, like he said himself, he could have taken a job in the Championship. He could have taken jobs at the lower end of the Premier League and looked like a scrappy manager, but he wants the big nights. He wanted.
From what I've seen as a manager, which is admittedly very limited, because let's be real, who's watching the Hungarian league other than Champions League games for those teams? He wouldn't get a team up out of the Championship.
Did he take a championship job at any point? Would this be
because he went? To be fair, his first job he actually went to Macca Tel Aviv over in Israel and won the league with them, and then left because of Israel. So he went from there to Hungary. Has also won the league there and is managing in the Champions League and I'm not saying he's going to be a world class manager, but he's a guy who's gone and learned on a different stage rather than playing war of attrition football because he wants to play football.
Sure.
So maybe Dermot, in terms of what you're saying,
can I just make a point?
Not a case to get a team promoted.
Can I make a point about the team he's managing? Make a point about the team he's managing. They've won the league 7 years in a row.
Still won a league.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that even if, and there is merit on going journeyman learning the game elsewhere, I'm not sure either Israel or Hungary are the places you want to learn how to do English football.
No.
Skipping the Championship.
Again,
as a first English team, Spurs seems like a very big one.
Well, the flip side of that is you obviously have Rosignor, who's gone in at Chelsea and is having a very good start. You've had, and as Dermot said a minute ago, maybe the pathway anymore isn't get a team promoted, stabilise and get your next job up, because you're used to then playing a different style of football. So maybe there's something in it. I don't personally think it's a good idea, but I can see it being the type of curveball that, one, appeases the fan base. Two, he does know what he's talking about when it comes to football. Now, whether he's actually at a level where he does know what he's doing when it comes to football. You don't win things in 2 separate countries and languages you don't speak without knowing football. But to say is he elite, we don't fucking know.
I'd say he's
But I
okay
can
on the
see it as
language in
a
Israel,
tick box
Jay.
signing.
I'd say he's okay on the language in Israel. They speak fluent American over there.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, what we're going to do there is we're going to just
We'll move it there, yeah. Before I
we're
go
just going to
off.
move. We're just going to slowly move away from Spurs is on fire. Dermot, you had hope, and your hope has been taken away, and then you're being given hope, and then it's been taken away, and then you're being given hope, and then it's being taken away. Talk to me about being a team in the relegation fight, because I think Burnley and Wolves are done and dusted, and it's now 4-1 as far as I can see.
100%. Burnley, I mean, they're what, 9, 10, they're 11 points back on 17th, which is maybe possible, but
11 points
is
off.
not going to happen. Leeds Chelsea last night was more than a game of two halves. It was a game of an hour and a half hour where I don't know. We were 20 minutes in or so when Chelsea took the lead. Nice goal. Palmer had been running riot. Leeds started the game with 6 defenders and 2 defensive midfielders. Calvert-Lewin was sick, like ill. So me and the lads had been talking with pretty much no hope going into the game. And the first hour lived up to that exactly.
Not good.
Bijal gave away one of the stupidest penalties, exactly the same as Wolves the other week against, or the other day against João Pedro, just for no reason. 2 hands shoving the back, going away from goal. Palmer dominated. He was given so much space. Him and João Pedro have a lovely link up. And then
You had the same face as me there, Jimmy.
I saw that shot. I've never seen a miss like that. Never.
And then Leeds did what they've done all the time since halftime against Man City all those weeks ago, where they're just relentless, absolutely relentless. Bogle had definitely his best game in a Leeds jersey a week after he tucked away a beautiful ball over the top with his bad foot first time, like any world-class striker would, except the fact that he's a right back playing in the right half space in midfield now, apparently. Leeds are... I'm pretty sure now Leeds are not going down, just based on we've lost, I think, 2 games in the last 13. We've taken
your form is not as good as you think. It's win, draw, loss, win, draw in the last
stretch that out. We've lost 2 and 13. We've taken 4 points off Chelsea. We haven't lost to Liverpool or Man United.
And only 6 points clear of West Ham.
Also, Leeds, I saw an interesting stat earlier, which was Daniel Farke's unbeaten at nighttime games in Ellen Road.
That's actually a wild stat.
119 drawn 3, I think, out of 22, something like that.
I'd say Ellen Road loves a piss up, that the boys are out in the lash all day and the place is a cauldron at night.
It is the best kind of toxic you could ever imagine, from what I've heard, at least, from what the lads tell me. But Leeds, as the weeks go by, I'm less and less worried about them, because you watch the games and they are not easy to break down. They are not easy to beat. And what they have now is proof of concept, right? The plan in the summer was we were going to buy big, massive bastards and we're going to become a handful. And then Farke went away from it for the first 10-ish games of the season. And then he pivoted in at halftime in the Man City match. And since then, we've only lost 2 games, and that's 13 games ago. So the system works, and it just looks, it's a lot more stable than some of the other teams down there, There are several Nuno adjacent teams who I back to go down more now than Leeds.
Do you know what? I think West Ham are actually going to get out of it, and it's because, do you remember we had a conversation at the start of the year about a particular team who took Palace to court, who took UEFA to court? We sacked Nuno because the owner couldn't get along with him. There is a football god, and if there is a football god, Nuno relegates Forest this season.
And what about Nuno relegates? Is Nuno relegates Spurs not the best plot twist to that you could ever imagine?
No, after the way he was treated at the end of Forest, after getting him into European football and stuff like this, there's something poetic about him sitting there and strutting into the City ground with a big fat cigar and going to Americanist going, how about that, dickhead?
I love the karma. I love the fairy tale of that. I don't think it's Forest. I think they have just enough little moments. Like, they've only lost one of their last 5. Their next game is Wolves. West Ham have similar
but
form.
look at West Ham's
sure.
form. It's 3 wins and a draw in the last 5. Like they're
Here's the thing about playing Wolves. I think I know for a fact Brighton, Leeds also have to play Wolves,
Yeah.
and they both also have to play Burnley. So if a lot of the teams down there have to play Wolves, and I know those guys are playing. I know Leeds are playing them at home at least. Those are going to scratch each other off. There's also
Absolutely.
likely to become that point when Wolves are officially mathematically relegated, where they win a game or two for some reason. Because
I mean, they
Wolves-
haven't been bad
they're
since
free to play, and
Christmas.
the boys are looking for contracts.
Like they've got a couple of draws in since Christmas, and a couple of very close draws that could have been wins. What are they sitting on now? 25, 8
but in
points?
terms of form teams in the Premier League right now are
United,
Chelsea, Bournemouth, and West Ham, in that order. They're the form.
Yeah.
Everton as well are.
Everton are next on that list. Yeah. Everton are actually next on that list. West Ham have better form just by, if we're looking at the metrics, like they've got 3 wins and a draw in that space. Everton have 2 draws in that
I
space.
don't think this West Ham
on that
team,
list. But West Ham are the 4th form team.
I don't think it holds.
The reason why I think so is the signings of Castellanos and Pepe. That's the other fella, isn't it? Pepe.
Castellanos,
Castellanos,
and
and the other
the main guy that was getting goals.
the 2 boys that they brought in January, selling Paqueta. Selling Paqueta has been a brilliant move for that team because it's taken a dirty smell out of the dressing room. Matheus Fernandez's numbers, we flagged him, Jimmy, about 2 months ago as being and his numbers since Paqueta have moved up a level.
He's exploded. He's absolutely exploded. And West Ham look better. I'm just
in Crescencio Somerville.
But what I don't understand is for West Ham, like we've said this before about Liverpool when they went through their really bad patch, right? And we've said this about various teams that are in any kind of danger, whether that's the expectation of being higher or the desperate need to not be lower. The first thing you do is stop the bleeding at the back. I don't see how West Ham have suddenly become a defensive masterclass. I think they're still too leaky. All right, United were last night, but I still think it's West Ham. That's what it comes down to. I don't believe in that defense. I don't think the manager.
Jimmy, I'll take your point on the defensive thing, and I'll raise you the reason why. Because we've said before as well, the West Ham backline actually isn't piss poor. Like Juff has been a very good player this season.
Really good player.
Wan-Bissaka has been good.
Wan-Bissaka's good.
He's slotted in actually very well.
Kilman's a disaster.
Todibo has been good. The goalkeeper is not a good situation. But a lot of the problem that West Ham have had has been the repetition of the ball coming back to them, because their centre forward all season has been a half a Callum Wilson or an out of position Jared Bowen. Like the two boys that they've brought in up top, they're 2 rampant dogs, to be perfectly nice about it. The ball is getting to the back line less frequently. They're winning it 5 yards further up the pitch, which means that a player like Somerville is getting more goals because he's actually further up the pitch.
Okay, but
this is Nuno's building this team like his Forest team, basically.
But hang on, for that to work, for that kind of constant, and I could be way wrong here, lads. Stop me if I go wrong. For that to work, that kind of constant high press to work, you're playing at a very, very high pace, but you also need to be fucking horizontally wide. And if we're relying on a couple of strikers to do that, there's still going to be questions asked in the midfield to maintain it. Do they have enough in them to press high enough to keep the pressure off their defence?
Do you know the way Forest played last year under Nuno?
Yes.
Do you remember
that was a Forest team that had Morgan Gibbs White in it.
Do you remember the way
it's not a high press.
It's a come press and spring from the wings.
Mm-hmm. It's got particular pressing triggers, but it's not a high press.
Okay.
They're playing
the same as what his Wolves team played. It's the same as how his Forest team played.
Now
sit at the edge of the box, compact 2 midfield, and the 2 wingers are your shuttlers, and you need a dog up front to win your second balls and keep them up there from the second place.
Now that they have Castellanos up front who can scrap for balls, as John said, win long balls, it means all of a sudden they have Somerville and Bowen, both correctly positioned, playing as wingers and inside forwards. But most importantly, with that low block, the combination of the long balls knocks down to Bowen, knocks down to Somerville. Those are some of the best 1v1 players you're going to find in the bottom third of the Premier League.
Sure.
So it's a good system. It's not the perfect system, but it's
functional.
It's the only hope for them, I think. It's curious. I'm curious about Castellanos. He's fun, and he's one of those who you'd like to have him in your team, but he's not consistent. I've never, at least from what I've seen of him, he's never been consistent.
He doesn't look like he's going to be a very big goal scorer, but he kind of reminds me of flavors of the Giroud type striker, the guy who brings more other players into play. Like, I don't think his numbers are going to be that good, but what he'll offer you in other parts of the pitch actually makes up for his lack of goals.
So,
But that's it when you're playing. But that's what you need from a. If you're playing long ball football, I mean, Leeds are another perfect example of this. Calvert-Lewin has been one of the most effective players in the league because of the number. Sure, he gets now. The important difference with Calvert-Lewin is he takes
The name of the other fellow, not Pepe, sorry.
but he gets so many flick-ons. He wins so many headers. He works as that kind of fulcrum in the top half of the pitch. You know, everyone else can feed off the scraps that he creates, and Castellanos has a bit of that about him too.
Like, do you remember Everton, the last knockings, David Moyes with Maro and Fellaini? A lot of his job was take the ball down off the chest and which allows other players to get up the pitch. There's a profile of these type of players. Your job isn't goals necessarily, even though you're an attacker. You're the link. Bobby Firmino at Liverpool.
He also has to take this is my worry with Castellanos, and this is where I've been so pleasantly surprised this year with Calvert-Lewin is if you've got a guy who can do that and be that fulcrum others can play off, and then also take the chances when they present themselves, all of a sudden you end up like Leeds, where you've got a guy who you bought for free has scored 10 or 11 goals already, and we're not even in March. Yeah. But I don't believe Castellanos to be that person, but I'd love to be wrong about that. Although, no, sorry, I wouldn't love to be wrong if it means Leeds get relegated.
I nearly had you. No, but this is why I think Nuno is actually a very, very good manager.
Oh yeah.
Like, his time at Wolves, they massively outperformed expectations. His time at Forest, they absolutely outperformed expectations. West Ham, I think if they can get through to next year, they will next year, because you'll have more of a Nuno style team in there. They'll buy a competent goalkeeper. They'll buy a better midfielder. They'll get a left back who's more suited to him. Essentially, he'll end up with 2 or 3 of the scraps from Nottingham Forest if they go down. Like, the teams that I think, like, I'm looking at Nottingham Forest and I'm not buying what they're selling, because
let's talk Forest.
Their issues.
Like, we've had a look at the two from London and Leeds, but Forest and Brighton are in the mix there, and Palace are in the mix as well.
Sorry, Dermot, go on.
Before we move on to Forest real quick, just there's a really important point about this that a lot of people miss in the discourse about who's going to get relegated. And they see, West Ham, they're only 2 points behind Forest. They're only, 5 points behind Spurs. They're only 6 points behind Leeds. You have to get past, you can't just beat one of those teams. You need to get enough points to make sure you're clear of any of those guys going on a run, you know? Because all of those teams are going to pick up points before the end of the year. You know, it's like when people say, "Oh, they're in 11th, they're only 3 points off 6th." It's like, yeah, but there are several teams between 11th and 6th who are also playing matches every weekend, gaining points. You know, it's not as simple as you 2 points back, so it'll be fine. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
That's my gut feeling.
It's not as simple as that.
That's my gut feeling. This is West Ham's run, and I don't think it lasts. But that's just a vibe.
I think that those 2 signings, and I think the bigger thing of getting rid of Paqueta, because obviously everything with him for a while, I think that was bringing a toxic element to the dressing room. And since they've actually moved him on, their form coincides with him leaving, with him saying, "I'm out." And it's almost like not having that negative influence in the dressing room makes a difference. But like, everybody from Brighton are on 31 points. So they're only, 7 points clear. Crystal Palace are only 8 points clear. It's tight, because like Fulham are in 12th now on 34, but like a win there puts them back up to 7th, but a loss brings them into that mixture. Like, it's that tight. So I think it's anybody from Leeds down who are in trouble. I don't think Brighton are.
I'm going to withhold judgment on Brighton because I'm having flashbacks, because right now on my other screen I'm watching Brighton play Villa. The last time Brighton played Villa was at the end of November, and it was winner goes third. And since then, Brighton have been a pretty unmitigated disaster in every sense.
Here's why you need to not discount those teams that we think are, they won't go down. They're too good to go down. Brighton, Spurs, and Palace have 1 win between them in the last 5 games.
This is it. This is it exactly. That's kind of where I was going there.
West Ham and Leeds are all on much better form than that.
Yeah, 100%. That's what scares me. Yeah.
But you remember Bournemouth recently went 13 games without a win, and now they've got 4 in their last 5. or 3 in their last 5.
I'm
Their
glad,
form had fallen off a cliff.
I'm glad I've always believed in Iraola.
I
Because
think
no,
Bournemouth were
They
only
went 13
performing.
games without,
They're only performing because I said they'd go down at the start of the season. It's just despite me.
no,
They hate me.
Jimmy, they went 13 games without a win.
so good.
They went on the
Remember?
longest win with longest run without winning in the league outside of Wolves this season. So like it's just that middle pack is so tightly compressed. Like I think Brighton are just. I think the 7 points at this stage, because there's so many teams are going to take points off each other. I think anybody below Brighton.
Yeah. Well,
Because
we were talking
if
before
Leeds
we went
play
on
West
air.
Ham, when Leeds play West Ham, that's suddenly a 6.
Leeds visit West Ham on the last day of the season.
Fuck me, that's going to be entertaining.
So you reckon Palace are not in any kind of danger? Because we were talking about them offline.
I was talking about them a couple of weeks ago, but the way the results have been going, I think they have just about enough to keep them out of it. Just about enough. I'm not saying a lot. They're not going to be.
So is it
Palace aren't going to be comfortable. Brighton aren't going to be comfortable. Spurs aren't going to be comfortable. The reason why I say Nottingham Forest, and it's because of what they don't have that the other teams do have. West Ham have goals in Somerville and Bowen. Spurs have goals if they can keep Dom Solanke on a pitch. Leeds have goals if they keep Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the pitch. Who the hell scores the goals for Nottingham Forest? Because Chris Wood was the guy last year banging him in for fun. Where are the goals in the Nottingham Forest room? That's the thing for me.
I do feel a certain level of sympathy for Igor Jesus at Forest. He's played very well for a lot of the season. I think he only has 1 league goal, maybe 2 league goals. He's banged in a few on a Thursday night, in the Conference League they're in, is it, or the Europa?
Europa.
Either way, I do think if he got a tiny bit of form, I think it could propel him to get them those few important goals. But Forest also have Morgan Gibbs White. They're just, I don't know. I think Forest have a better squad than both West Ham and a very injured, unhappy Palace. I don't know. Palace's problem is, again, and everyone knew this a year ago in the summer, is that they had no cover at wing backs, and the worst happened. Munoz got injured. Mateta, you guys know how I feel about Mateta. He's a fantastic goal scorer when he's scoring goals, and when he's not scoring goals, he's probably, I would say, the most wasteful player in the entire league.
Mm-hmm.
He's very streaky. He's very streaky.
Incredible the number of chances he misses. Even when he's scoring, he still misses a crazy number of chances, which then obviously just goes to show how well Palace had been providing for him over the last year and a half until a few weeks ago.
Say flip side of Forest, like about injuries, like, and the position where you don't want injuries is in goals. Forest currently have 6 goalkeepers on the books, and only one of them is fit. That's their new one.
That's luck, though. They signed two goalies in January, I believe. They grabbed Ortega from City, which I thought was a pretty savvy move.
They got
And
him on loan until the end of the season.
they grabbed another fella, I can't quite remember his name.
They brought in John Victor, Angus Gunn, Matt Sells, Stefan Ortega, Aaron Bott, and Keyshawn Williams. And the only fit one there right now is Ortega.
But Matt Sells was
Brilliant last year.
Can we say inarguably goalie of the year last year?
Definitely top 3, but
top
absolutely unbelievable.
Top 2 for me.
And they had brought in a new goalie, Carlos Miguel, the summer preceding last season. Mm-hmm. And people didn't know for a fact. Sells had been good the end of the year before. People didn't know for a fact that Sells was going to keep his place at the start of the season. And then it didn't even become a question because he was so good. Carlos Miguel's already been shipped out. And as you said, they've brought in, 114 more keepers since.
Yeah, and the only one fit at the moment is Ortega.
Yeah. Who has played a bit of League Cup over the last 5 years or 4 years at City, and that's it.
I'm just looking at the Forest team, and like I get your point on Morgan Gibbs White. They've got a couple of ballers. Elliot Anderson isn't the guy who's going to score you enough goals. It's like he'll run a midfield.
So
Morgan Gibbs White is streaky. James McAtee has done nothing, and they've spent a lot of money to get him in there. I don't know whether it's injuries or it's just been, or he's just not been playing. I don't know, but they spent a decent chunk of change on a fella to not play him.
And Zinchenko, same problem.
Zinchenko's gone already.
Gone to Ajax.
Gone?
Zinchenko was awful at Forest. He never caught on at all.
Milenkovic is having a quiet year. I mean, the guys they were relying on last year. It's like they
got Amari Hutchinson as well, didn't they, from Ipswich?
Yeah, but Chris Wood scored those chances last year. They're not scoring them. And that's the reason why I think, as much as I do like Sean Dyche for what he is as a manager, I don't think they have, like as I said, West Ham, they have between Bowen, Somerville, Fernandez, Castellanos, they have enough goals to get them out of the shitter. Between them, Cheka, Okafor, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, there's Leeds have a couple. That there's a couple of fellas who will bag a goal when you need one. Spurs have Solanke, Madison to come back, Kulusevski to come back, Kudus to come back. There's a couple of fellas there who you're like, yeah, I trust them to score a goal. There's nobody in that Wolves team apart from maybe Morgan Gibbs-White, who scores 3 games on the trot and does nothing for 10.
Do you think there's anything to be said for the mental side of it, whereby, like, I have real doubts about Spurs right now, because like those guys you've listed they are not relegation standard players. Kudus, Xavi Simons, these kind of guys, Solanke, whoever else. Imagine the mental strain of not realizing, oh shit, we're about to be in a relegation battle, and then all of a sudden you're thrust in there. You're thinking, oh, we're going for Champions League, UEFA Cup holders, Europa League holders, sorry, whatever. I think there's a certain strength that comes from being self-aware, which is we're going to be scrapping, we're going to be bottom 5, and we're going to make sure that we're not bottom 3. Whereas Spurs, I mean, I don't know, is it Spurs owners, Spurs managers, Spurs players, Spurs fans, lack of self-awareness about how serious their problems are could be
I'm going to answer that with 2 words.
Negative impact.
Michael Carrick.
But,
Man United are crap. They went on a 4-game winning streak and then they lost. They dropped points to the exact type of team they've dropped points to this season. So essentially, you were able to ride on a little crest of a wave. But the reality is, at Manchester United, the exact same problems that existed a month ago when Amorim was screaming about them still exist now.
Well, but
when West Ham gave them the football, they couldn't win a game.
So that's true.
Spurs, with new manager, 3-4 games of a bounce, that's enough to keep you and get you away from it.
But
you know what I mean?
Is that going to happen? Like the United one, I get, in the sense that they came up against their first low block last night against West Ham and they couldn't win for the first time in 5 games. But the reason they couldn't break through West Ham last night is because they don't have the players to break through a low block playing a 4-3-3, because they have wing backs instead of wingers, because of the composition of the squad based on the previous manager's idea of how he wants them to play.
Wasn't the whole point that was the system that we should have played the whole time? But the
point
I'm making is that a new manager, 2 or 3 results is enough to get them enough away from it.
A brief interruption, gentlemen, for a rare live update, because something statistically important is about to happen. James Milner is warming up at Phillip Park. 15 minutes.
This early in the game.
Absolutely livid that they're fucking spoon feeding him a legitimate record. What an insult to the entire game that you bring on. You do. It's so. I love James Milner. He came through at Leeds when he was 15. He was the youngest ever Premier League goal scorer when he was Leeds when he was 16. And to do this thing of, I will bring him on for the last 5 minutes to make sure he breaks the record. And by the way, he has had a very large hand in them losing points in those games he's come on for.
Correct.
But
it's only 15 minutes in.
I absolutely loathe the notion of spoon feeding someone a record.
He has about 2/3 of the minutes on the pitch at Gareth Barry. So take from that.
They're spoon feeding him a record.
They are, of course. Yeah, it was part of the contract.
A record that actually definitely means something to Gareth Barry, and generally means something to the league.
Bringing him on 17 minutes is actually it's only 17 minutes into the game, so fair enough on this occasion. But the amount of times they brought him on in like the 92nd, 93rd.
Yeah, just in time to lose the game. Yeah,
earn it. If he is good enough to be needed to help them close out games, earn points, then he'll get the record. But if you're doing this, let's get him the record, and then we can bench him for the rest of the season, and it can be out of everyone's mind, and then he has the award.
I think at the moment, I believe Veltman's injured, I could be wrong, but I think there's a case to be made for him at right back because of a rotation problem back there. But yes, I know what you're saying. I know you're right. I just wanted to touch on that because it's happening very now. But yes, I agree.
So back to this relegation talk.
He is a legend all the same. No shade to Milner. He's an absolute legend. Leeds legend.
Oh yeah, we love a bit of James Milner. He's been around the block longer than most of the players have been alive. So I think, look, on the relegation thing, I think it's clear that nobody actually really is 100% on any direction We have theories, we have opinions, we have ideas, but this is probably going to come down to the end of the season, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a messy one, I think.
Dermot has still hope as a Leeds fan.
I
But
don't want to. I do not want to go and play Nuno on the last day of the season, needing a result away from.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
something dirty about that. Chris Vencio Somerville will relegate you. But anyway, league. I want to talk about some form players in the Premier League because obviously, at our heart, we are a fantasy football platform, and I've been doing a little bit of mini digging because I suppose there's some. Yeah, that's the sound effect. Mini digging. Mini digging. So I flagged out a couple of players who have been like on super form, and myself and Gary were actually talking about this very similar topic based on the January window last week. So I kind of want to go a little wider, maybe pick out a couple of players. I picked out the players I highlighted as the form players in the league for me to look out for right now: Rayan, Adley, Somerville, Bruno, Gyökeres, Palmer, and Pedro. They're the players I've flagged. I suppose, where do we want to start with that? Can we just get Cole Palmer out of the way?
Can we get Cole Palmer out of the way? I mean, his form at the moment is based largely on 3 penalties in 2 games.
And let's not forget he missed
the worst.
Okay, so in the last second of the game against Leeds the other night, he missed a tap in on the goal line. Now, the ball was fucking pinged across. So I have the tiniest bit of sympathy, but not really. But penalties aside, and glaring miss costing you a match you should have won aside, he looks like Palmer again.
And he does a bit, doesn't he?
See, I have a very complicated one with him. He's doing the numbers.
To watch. So entertaining to watch.
I'm not the biggest Cole Palmer fan. This is me personally. I think he's the most overhyped player in English football. Maybe it's because of the trademark Cole Palmer celebration.
Because he's English.
Maybe if we're doing trademarks on celebrations, I think everyone needs to know that he did not invent that celebration, and he's been running in the NBA since about 2019.
The hype is because he's English. The English media will hype an English player all day long.
Yeah, but why can you?
He scored 45 league goals. He's scored 45 league goals in his career. 18 of them are penalties. Like, for context, just for context here, you've someone like, Jimenez, who's got about verging on the 100 goals in the 10-12 years he's in the league, and has 12 and 12. Cole Palmer's been playing 2.5 years and has 18 penalties already. It's just mental. Now, he's sticking them when he gets them.
Scoring penalties is a very valuable skill.
Bruno.
I'm not saying it's...
Mo.
Yeah, neither of them had 18 career penalties in the Premier League.
They don't. But what I'm saying
he
is
has he has more penalties in the Premier League than Bruno or Salah, and both of them have been knocking around years longer. Like,
sure, because Chelsea tend to play delicate little flowers up front.
That it's padded out. No, the numbers have been padded out because they've won more penalties. That is what it is. I'm not saying Palmer's bad. I'm saying he's a form player. He's got 4 goals in his last 2 games. He's got a couple of assists in the games previous. That he is one of the form players. For me personally, I'm not the biggest Palmer fan because I feel like he's what I would call a stat pad footballer. It's less about actually influence on the game and more about I got a number.
He can place it personally. He can place it fast. What I see with Palmer, and again, not the wisest eyes on football, but what I see is a young man who is able to very, very quickly assess the situation and get the ball exactly where it needs to be, like lightning fast. He's working on instinct, and his instincts are really, really solid. He's better as an assist merchant. But yes, thank you. João Pedro, 4 from the last 5. So statistically, if you're looking at a fantasy asset, it's probably Pedro, because I'd like to remind everyone that in StatrCast you get slightly fewer points for a penalty goal because they're fucking easier.
The best thing that's going to happen for both of them is the other one.
This is
the two of them feel like poor Leeds to shreds in the first half last night. And the best thing Palmer can wish for and now has is João Pedro ahead of him, and the best thing João Pedro can wish for is Palmer behind him.
It's like last year. Not João Pedro. Palmer was unstoppable as long as Jackson was playing, and Jackson was unstoppable as long as Palmer was feeding. Which I think, to be honest with you, the difference there is that Pedro can do it without Palmer. Palmer can't do it without a rock star out front.
Well, bear in mind as well, it's not like he's hanging out with fucking potatoes when Palmer's not there. It's Enzo Fernandez and Moises
People in
Caicedo.
front of the person in front of
And
you.
17 of the best 50 young wingers in the world are bench at Chelsea. I mean, these are, I don't know. I think it's a little bit futile. I know we're talking about foreign players, so it's a bit futile for me to say this, but it's a bit futile to go into individual performances in such a team game. There's 11 people. We're
Sure.
not talking about five-a-side. But
No, but it's about how chemistry and dynamics make a difference, because he hasn't
Palmer,
got that same link up with Delap, and in years gone by,
the
we have
lap's
seen the
the
difference.
lap's not it. The
No, I
lap's,
cup
agree.
player.
I agree with that.
Here's
But
the thing
what I'm
about
saying is
Palmer.
chemistry makes a difference.
The most important thing about Palmer, when I watch Palmer, I want to keep watching. At the end of the day, we're watching the game, maybe a little bit of analysis here and there, but give me a Cole Palmer any day of the week on the pitch because of the things he's able to do. Not saying he's going to do them every minute of every game, but he is such a joy to watch when he's on form. I really enjoy Palmer. I really enjoy watching him play.
I prefer me personally. I think Joe Pedro is the better of the two. This is just me personally. I think Joe Pedro offers more. I like him as a player.
No doubt, they're both very, very good players.
And they're two of the foreign players in the league right now. And I did want to mention that it's the connection between them.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Though you're going to see them hit form at the same time a lot because of the way they're able to feed off each other.
Yeah. And this is, I think, where I was getting to before we tangented, is that I think Palmer's overrated, but when he plays with a Jackson, when he plays with a Palmer, or when he plays with a Pedro, when he has... Do you know what it is? It's the type of striker who runs the fuck away from him.
Yeah.
It creates space for him to play in. It gets that other fella running beyond the line. A Delap who wants to hold up a ball and compress the space doesn't seem to suit his style of football. But him and Pedro together, they're both they're two of that form list. For me, if I'm picking an asset, I'm picking João Pedro because he's doing it week in, week out. Has been one of the form players in the league throughout the season.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
that would just be me.
Can we do the unthinkable and talk about United, John? You've gone for Bruno here.
Bruno, for me, if we're talking Player of the Year contenders,
100%.
I think he's the Player of the Year for me. I think the only player who lays a glove to him is Declan Rice.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I would lean with Rice because as fun as it is to pull out Players of the Year, winning matters.
Yeah.
And affecting winning matters. And I'm not saying Bruno was the reason United lost for all those times, but winning games is and should hopefully will always be the most important thing.
What was the metric he has? So most chances created in the Premier League again this season. Like essentially, if you're Bruno, you're sitting there going, "Well, bitch, I'm doing my fucking job. I'm creating more chances on average than any other player in the league." He's got 12 assists, so he's the most assists in the league this year. Xherki, Wirtz, Odegaard combined have 12 assists in the league or something this year. So, I think for me, even watch his form again over the last few weeks, watch his form throughout the season. He gets shot on because of his wavy army attitude and his body language. But
he's unbelievable.
Every match you watch, his running stats are top 2 or 3 on the pitch. His chance creation stats are 2-3 on the pitch. For a fella who takes a lot of risk on the football, he also has an 83% pass completion this season.
He passed the ball forward, which is the most important.
But he's also got one of the best passing completion rates.
But that's what I'm saying.
Even at that.
By the way, for pass completion rate, yes, this is it, Dermot.
You have that completion rate.
That's it exactly, yeah. If it's progressive passing, your pass completion rate should be much, much lower because the other guys are in the way more. But Bruno gets around this. The only thing I would say about Bruno at United is I think Bruno has been at that level statistically for quite some time, and he's very, very solid, very capable, and he's absolutely brilliant. I still think Mbeumo looks better every time he plays.
Yeah, well, Bruno last week beat a record for, what was it? Fastest Man United player to 200 goals and assists.
Oh, no doubt. But I'm just saying Mbeumo's been there for 25 weeks.
He's the only person who's done it faster than Rooney.
I don't think United functions at all with that. I think, don't get me wrong, Mbeumo's is a really good player. Again, I love watching him. He's so big, he's so strong, he's so effective. But if you take anyone other than Bruno out of that team, I'd
Oh, it
argue
falls
you
apart.
take two people out of that team and it wouldn't have the same negative impact as if you took Bruno.
Yeah, he's the core and heart of Man United right now, which occasionally splutters and squirts badly. But
Well, like
he's the man.
the most assists in a Premier League season is Henry with
20.
20, and he
Thierry
needs
Henry.
8 in 14 games to match it, which is not beyond the realms of possibility for him to do that. I think if he gets to 18 assists in the league, he is the player of the year. It's between him and Rice. They're the two most consistent. And the thing is, Bruno is creating a volume of chances, and even watch his numbers. Like when Man United score, he's either the key pass, he's the assist, or the goal. He's in one of those three phases. He's either scoring the thing, assisting the thing, or splitting the ball, so that the next player can do the thing. So he's always at the
Yeah.
heart of any attack and output. So for me, asset wise, one of the foreign players in the league, another one. If you can get him into your team, get him goddamn into your team. This Man United team as well for the rest of the season is going to be built on using him as the heartbeat of the
Yeah.
lineup.
Big Bauer steal.
So that's kind of long and short of that. The next one I want to look at is Gyökeres. I'm just going to just six goals since the turn of the year. 7 goals. I think that now since the turn of the year, 2 goals last week against Sunderland. One of two things is true at the same time, right? With this one, this is one where, do you remember, Jimmy, when I said at the end of the season his numbers will stack? He's on 12 goals all comps so far. I said he'll finish all comps 15 to 20 this season. He is going to do so. His 8 odd goals in the Premier League so far have all come against 2 against Sunderland, 3 against Leeds, 2 against Forest, 2 against Burnley. He'll finish the season with 12 odd in the league, but it's who they're coming against. But at the same stage, they're in that run of fixtures now, and he is doing it.
He's doing it against the weakest teams.
Third prong to your point there is against the weaker teams, Arsenal play different football. And when Arsenal are playing against better teams, Gyökeres' job changes. And he's less the focal point of we need you to score the goals. They're going to score.
Well, this was the case in
They're going to
Portugal
score
as
the
well.
goals from a Rice set piece against the big teams. They're going to win 1-0 or 2-0, you know, or they're going to come from the other tricky lads they have. A lot of goals coming from midfield. Zubimendi's starting to have a few. I think Gyökeres has been generally fine this season. Completely fine. There's no oh, he's underperforming against the big teams. He's certainly underscoring against the big teams, and he's scoring all his goals against the bad teams, as you just said. But I don't see a huge problem with that because he's also another big.
My thing is,
like,
people were, I suppose, gassing him and smoking him from coming from Portugal. But having seen him and having looked at the numbers in Portugal, when you look at his numbers against Sporting or against Benfica, Braga, and Porto, he had 3 goals in 8 games last season against them. Not one was open play. So in a season where he scored 60 odd
Let me
goals,
ask you a question.
yes,
What's more valuable to you? 8 goals against lower quality opposition teams or 2 goals against fellow title challengers?
well, if you're scoring 4 in one game against Firenze, it's a little different to scoring a goal against Benfica.
Simple question.
Depends on the result of the game.
Yeah, so correct.
And I used to say, I said at the start of the season, he's got shades of Lukaku about him.
Without Gyökeres scoring in the biggest games of the year, Arsenal are getting the result.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I'm saying at the start of the season, I said these are the profile of teams he will score against. He's doing exactly what I expect him to do. But Arsenal are in one of those runs right now where they have played Leeds and he scored 2, where they have played Sunderland and he scored 2, where they have played Burnley and he scored. So as long as they're playing, when they play those teams, he's a viable asset. He's in form right now, but they're also playing teams that suits his output. I've never said I don't think he's a shit player or anything like this, but I think there was a lot of smoke in terms of, he scored 60 odd goals last year, he's going to be the new Haaland. And I've been saying since the start of summer, this is not the player you think you're buying. He's doing exactly what I expected, and now they're in a run of games where he is doing that. And if you look at Arsenal's next few games coming up, I think it's also worth your while keeping an eye on him. So in terms of foreign players, especially a striker like him as well, a bit of confidence behind the back as well means the chances that would have gone left of the post now should hopefully.
I have to disagree, and there's only one simple reason I'm going to disagree with you, John. You're probably right about everything you're saying, but I think what you're overlooking is that this is not a striker season. This is a midfielder season. this is the midfieldiest season I have seen in a very long time. If you think about the big man out front at all of the big clubs, he's not doing it. Sesko, Haaland, Gyökeres, whoever the fuck Liverpool have left.
Well, their next couple of games are Brentford, Wolves, Brentford next, then Wolves, then Spurs, then they have Chelsea, admittedly. And then
they'll get Ricey with all three of those. They will play Ricey against all of those, except maybe Wolves. They'll play for set pieces, their usual game. Like
we're talking about form players. I'm looking at what I'm flagging here is guys that are on form that you want to get in your team. Everybody's got a bit of Rice in their team, or in our type model, somebody has Rice. Gyökeres is probably viable to pick up.
Yeah. Well, if there's a time, it might be now. But
he is in form.
So can we talk about new boys at Bournemouth? Because I think this is team form as well as player form for one of them. This young fellow Rayan, where in Ireland is he from?
Rayan. He was bought from Vasco da Gama.
Anyone with a name is Brazilian.
Yeah, chances are himself and Adil Adli. I do want to touch on Crescencio Somerville, 5 goals and an assist since Paqueta has gone. If you haven't been sniffing around him yet, just do it. He is now what Paqueta was to that team a month ago. Expect his form to continue in the sense that he's their main outball now that Paqueta was a month ago. I think that's a long and short on that one, unless Dermot, you disagree?
Ryan, yeah, he's class. He came on.
I don't want to talk about Somerville because he was
Somerville.
Somerville. Yeah, so that's where my mind had wandered off to the rude chances of Leeds United and all the great players who've slipped through the cracks recently. Somerville is exactly what we saw at Leeds with West Ham at the moment, which is you can't trust him, you don't want to rely on him. But when he hits form and he's in a system that lets him go one-on-one, people, again, he's just a joy to watch, you know. He also has, like, without a doubt, one of the best names in the league, Crescencio Somerville. It's glorious.
You know? He's also a pure Nuno type winger, so the way Nuno got tunes out of Elanga and Hudson-Odoi in the last season, Somerville is also that type of, here, if we give him the ball and tell him run that way, he's going to run that way and he's good at it. So Somerville, he's another form player.
He's a lock. He's a lock for me.
The other two I want to look at, Bournemouth, are Adil Adli and Rayan. Rayan was signed over the winter. He was signed to be Semenyo's replacement. One of Brazil's youngest ever senior players. 19.
This is Ryan's 4th professional season, and he's 19.
Yeah, he's 19.
Jesus.
Yeah. Now his first two, he played a little bit. The 23 season. So in Brazil, the league starts in January, so it's a calendar year league. 23 season, he played a few games, had a couple of goals of the league. The next year, he virtually didn't score in the league. Played a load of games, didn't score, and then he exploded.
19 goals in 50 games in the league before he got.
He looks like Adriano. He's about 6'1", 6'2". He looks calm in front of goal. He's got a rocket of a left foot now. Admittedly, not the rocket of a left foot that Adriano had, at least not yet. But to me, this just screams incredible recruitment again by Bournemouth.
Yeah,
you know?
Decent price. Myself and Gary said a couple of weeks ago, like, keep an eye on him. I know Dermot probably keeps an eye on a little bit of Brazilian football. I've always had my little fascination with a couple of teams down there, namely Flamengo and Sao Paulo. So I wouldn't have seen a lot of him. But Brazil is always one of those leagues where when you see a player pop up at 16, 17, you kind of go, wait till someone comes and snaps him up, because they have a tendency for this. Like Estevao also went to Chelsea in the summer.
And by the way, he tore up Brazil for years again. And like these guys are showing up, they're 19 years old and they are already household names in Brazil. It's
3-4 years of senior football. Like they're making debuts at 15 in the senior level. Like, but 19 goals in 50 games before he got to Bournemouth. He's only Robbie Keane and Anthony Martial can lay a glove to the little numbers that he's put up in his first 3 games. Only those two are the most recent 2 players who've either scored or assisted in their first 3 games clean into the league. Or coming in January or whatever. Teenagers. That's the one. Teenagers to score or assist in their first 3 games. He's 19 and he's come into the Premier League, and in his first 3 games he's just gone, I belong here. Oh, Semenyo, you were missing him. Don't. And he's just taken to it like a duck to water. I don't think this is necessarily, Jimmy, a Bournemouth on form thing, but I think between himself and Adley, who's the other one on form, if you look at his numbers,
Yeah.
he's come out of fucking nowhere. I was not hearing or seeing much of him in the first half of the season, but he's become a bit of an assist machine.
I know nothing of the boy. He did not come across my radar either, watching numbers in the slightest. Has he just taken someone's spot? Because he's
You
getting
boys
a
need to
lot more
play more
minutes than he was 5
Football
weeks
Manager.
ago.
You boys need to play more Football Manager. You'd know all these lads.
I don't have
Go
time.
on.
I'm too busy playing Statter. But he was getting minutes like 15, 20, 5, 6, 12, 23. Nothing really going on until the Brighton game back in week 22. So we're talking early January there. Is this an injury replacement? Is this a Clivert replacement? Is this a Tavernier replacement? Because Tav's down again.
He's kind of taken the spot out there. So Clivert's not really starting anymore. It's
Yeah.
Adley, Krupi, and Rayan in behind Evan Nielsen.
So putting Krupi in number 10 as another fucking stroke of genius from Areola.
Yeah.
He's really thriving in there. They're just, I don't know how anyone doesn't absolutely love Bournemouth, the way they play, this stuff, the decisions the manager makes, the players they bring in, the guys they find, how they use them, the people, again, the money they make selling the players. And then, I mean, what are they probably touching 150 million from the two centre backs in Semenyo? And all of a sudden it's Rayan for 22. It was Krupi for not that much at all.
Not that
Evan
much.
Nielsen.
No.
How they got Evan Nielsen in from Porto in the first place? I'm still a bit shocked.
I'm shocked by that one. I still think he's about to move through levels over the next year or two.
Oh well, give Ryan 18 months of Bournemouth, and he's gone.
He's gone somewhere.
Yeah.
Adley, Jimmy, for context, 3 goals and assists, and they've all come in the last month. So this is what I mean. It's almost like what they've done there by putting Krupi in that 10. He's kind of moved out to that left-hand side. I think I don't know whose exact spot. Maybe it was David Brooks, or maybe it was Alex Scott or something who was
It was
playing
Alex
earlier in the
Scott for a long time.
Right.
Which?
Scott has kicked off a bit recently, hasn't he? Scott had been playing a lot more advanced.
Yeah, so I think Adley's kind of taken that spot, and then Rayan has just come in and gone, okay, Premier League football. So in terms of ones to watch, Rayan, I said 2 weeks ago, keep an eye on Rayan, and now I'm saying...
Sorry, one more point on Rayan. That is such a nice, pleasant surprise to shut up all the stupid talking heads who say, oh, he hasn't done it in the Premier League. Can he keep up with the pace of the Premier League? Is he big and strong enough for the Premier League? Yes. To all. He's 19 years old. He's come in. He's bullying people off the ball, and he's getting.
Jimmy, his first goal. He sat Lucas Igna on his hole and just brushed past him. Went fuck you. He literally went down the right, and then Igna was obviously told coaching wise, show him on his inside. He's not got the left foot, and he just basically went through him and went cool. Shot the ball with the outside of his right foot. Goal 1, and then rocks up last night and scores again. So, 2 goals and assists.
Which was a header, by the way.
In the league at
a header at the back post last night.
Header at the back post.
Really he's not a one-trick pony at all.
Yeah. Header at the back post at 19, Brazilian coming into the league. So, these guys, the guys I'm flagging as foreign players right now, Rayan, Adley, Somerville, Bruno, Gyökeres, Palmer, Pedro. Those are if you haven't got one of them...
Bogle.
Of course you're going to throw in a Leeds one. I was going to end on that. And just go, but no, Dermot has to throw in a Leeds one. So unless anybody has anything else they want to run it through, I think those are the foreign players. Unless you want to pick one each, and then we
João Pedro.
There you go.
From those guys.
From your own, pick your own.
Give me Bogle.
Okay, in that case,
that's it, really.
Leeds have some rough games coming up. I'm going to regret that.
Yes, you are. Age like milk. Jimmy, where can people find out about all this lovely information?
People can find out about all of this lovely information, and they can keep an eye on us. You can follow the podcast on Spotify. You'll see us occasionally on YouTube. You'll see us quite a bit on TikTok, especially John, who is still doing his little broadcasts on match day, on game weeks when they fall on a Saturday, and he's got his breakfast roll in. They last anything from 10 minutes to 6 hours, depending on the man's mood. He's an absolute machine, but there's a beautiful little community forming over there. We're starting to see some regulars come back every week, and much love to anybody who keeps tuning in to contribute to the discussion over there. But if you want to sit down and have a read, maybe Maybe your last meal has decided it's time to say hello and you're going to the throne of contemplation. What do you need? You need a short blast of football info. Head on over to StatrDraft.com. That's where we're at. You can also find archived episodes of this here podcast if you like the sound of us, but probably not the look of us. And StatrDraft.com, and follow us everywhere you follow things, except following us around, because we don't like that. It's kind of weird, but go for it anyway.
That's how you catch a case.
That's where we are.
Bye.
That's where we are. Night, night, folks. Night, night.
Good luck and things.
See you guys.